يا بلادي يا بلادي يا بلادي يا بلادي يا بلادي يا حبيبة يا بلادي يا بلادي يا فؤادي يا مراد.
Really, if you get down to it, is America or even the Israelis and Zionism. Clearly that's a problem. Clearly people are dying, clearly people are being put in prison, their human rights are being denied. But the reason why these things are allowed to happen is because we haven't fulfilled our potential yet. That's why it's happening. Not because they have the power. We have the power, but we relinquished it. We are allowing other people to exercise the power that we have. And I don't think there could be really a better example, of course, in recent history than the flotilla itself. If we go back before the flotilla, let's go back before the flotilla. Egypt, at the behest of the United States, with their pimp of a president, dictator Mubarak, who is taking bribe money, was building a wall 40 feet below Rafah. A wall above 40 feet below. The only way that the Palestinians are able to get in any of the things denied to them by Israel is through those tunnels. And that's what Egypt was doing. And there was no talk in Egypt of doing anything about opening Rafah. None at all. None. The EU particularly disgusts me. The United States we can see for what it is. The United States is an imperial machine. It lies repeatedly. It's said very openly, for those of us who pay attention. It has this New World Order agenda with a global spectrum dominance agenda. The agenda is to obtain key strategic areas of the world, including the largest oil and gas reserves in the former Soviet republics and in Iraq. They wanted to invade Iraq. This was said back in the and the invasion of Iraq clearly had nothing to do with weapons of mass destruction. This is for the masses. This is just the propaganda for the masses. And the masses are going to buy into that stuff. There's not much we can stop that. While the propaganda machine is effective as it is, we cannot stop the masses from buying into this stuff. But it doesn't mean that we have to be stupid or inactive. In fact, we can look deeper and we can see the truth. It's there. And the truth of the matter is that they're able to get away with this stuff because enough of us haven't got together as intelligent, as disciplined, as fearlessly, as strongly as we're capable of doing. The flotilla, before the flotilla, the EU was doing nothing. 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 Hollow talk at best. Not a thing. This country that we live in, and all the EU countries, paying taxes to, supporting policies that equate to doing about 25 billion euros a year in trade with Israel. We're the ones who are allowing that to happen. And the United States had no intention of changing the policy with Israel, none. And after the flotilla, you hear them talk about how the blockade is, quote, unsustainable. There was never any mention of anything like that. The UN, if we know about the UN, the only thing they've ever done good, as far as I can tell, is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But the first act of the UN practically was the partition plan, which was the beginning of this conflict. That's really what made this conflict happen, kicked it off for real, gave the Zionists what they wanted, the gift they needed to be able to try and brand the Palestinians as the problem, and them as the victims. After the flotilla, what happens? Egypt has now been forced to open up, at least to a degree, Rafah. That was not the plan before the flotilla at all. The EU has started to come out and make strong statements about the need to end the blockade. The United Nations has also initiated to give a facade of some semblance of interest in justice and ending the blockade. All of this has happened because about 800 people on 6 ships with a few $1 million, I mean, a decent investment, but not that much money when you think about all the money that is being wasted on trivial things every day. It's not that much money. All of that happened because 800 people and a few ships and a willingness to take it into our own hands, and a willingness not only to take it into our own hands, but to defend not only ourselves, but the mission and the children, 800,000 plus in Gaza. If we see them as our children, I mean, look, we've got little ones in this room right now. Can you imagine having your children go through what Palestinian children are going through every day? What would you do? Would you be able to do what you have done? Or would you be compelled to do more? And part of the reason why I do what I do is because I've only become a father. My baby is 22 months old. I look at him fairly regularly. I look at him and I imagine what it would be like to come home and see my whole blown all over the place, no more. I imagine what would that do to me? And this is exactly the kind of thing that Palestinians are dealing with, and will continue to deal with, because they have the capacity on their own to effect justice. They need the outside world. Without us, they'll be subjected to this endlessly. And of course, the Zionist project will play out its ultimate goal, which is to dispossess them of all the land, or worse yet, in my opinion, to be able to effect the, quote, two-state solution, which to me is the two-state disaster. It's the second Nakba. It will be the insurance policy for Israel to be able to make sure that Palestinians never have justice and they will be able to maintain that conflict perpetually. We can't let that happen. We cannot let that happen. And the only way, in my opinion, that we'll be able to stop what is intended, what the plan is by enough of us. And I'm not talking about the masses. Really, this is important. I think people must realize it's not relevant what the masses are doing. What is relevant is those of us of conscience, those of us who can see what's happening and who are ready to take responsibility for the world that we live in and do what we're capable of doing. We're the ones that matter. We are the ones. The world will change because of us. And let us not underestimate the power that we have. It's tremendous power. If we build on the flotilla and we come back stronger, more intelligent, with people from all around the world, and believe me, they're there, they're ready. But we need to be able to organize something that is put forward in a way that is so compelling that the people will invest, the people will participate, and the people will put their lives on the line. They will. They definitely will. But what I see and what I'm concerned about is that we don't recognize that, in fact, the problem is in here, and the problem is going to be solved in here, between us. We've got to be able to put our egos, our personal agendas, all the political things, we've got to put that aside and focus on a mission. I don't mean to be in any way contrary. I think that it's important that we continue to keep the pressure. And I'm ready to go back to Palestine, to Gaza on a ship. I myself have been named specifically as a terrorist. Israel has said, quote, that I am a terrorist operative, as well as my brother over there. And they said that I was going to Gaza to train a commando unit for Hamas. And this is quite ridiculous. Hamas could train me to be a commando. It's been 20 years since I've been in the military, so I mean, this is really quite farcical, but it's serious as well. I have a wife, I have a child, I think a lot of us here are parents. We know we have a responsibility to our immediate family, but I'm willing to go back, and I'm willing to subject myself potentially to go back to Israel and just face them head on and say, you know what, you charge me with being a terrorist, I'm ready to come here. You go ahead and charge me, and you go ahead and put me in your jail, but when you put me in your jail, you're not putting Ken O'Keefe in jail. You're putting a Palestinian in jail. And I'm one of thousands of Palestinians that will be in that jail. And until the world insists that all of them are let go, then I'm ready to stay in that jail. And I'll be away from my family, I'll be away from my baby boy, who adores his father and needs his father. But he also needs more than me, specifically a better world to grow up in. And he doesn't have that world right now. The world we live in is completely unacceptable, totally, completely unacceptable. And only if you believe you don't have power, only if you don't take responsibility can that world continue. If we take responsibility, if we accept the power that we have, we will change it. I don't see myself going on the flotilla. I don't even know if it can be called at this point a flotilla. I've heard talk of 60 ships. I haven't seen the evidence of these ships, not yet anyway. I know a lot of people are trying to raise money for ships. If that happens, and there's 60 ships or at least 10 or 20 ships, and not just boats, we've got to realize, 10 or 20 boats is different from a ship like the Mavi Marmara with 600 passengers on board. The Israelis can take small boats very easily. That's not a problem for them, and we'll play right into their hand. Most moral army in the world, we didn't kill anybody,